Here is a video on how to repair a Bachmann 280 locomotive, vintage, 1980 and 1990. And I have a couple of old models that I'm putting together to try to make one good one. And we'll start with a brief outline so you can possibly skip to the part you want to get to and not have to watch the whole thing. Why do you want to repair the locomotive? Some resources that are available. Taken off the shell, broken and missing pieces, brushes and springs, reassembly, and remember to have some fun here. First of all, repairing a locomotive can be satisfying. It possibly save you some money, and for those of you that like old things, there's a little bit of nostalgia involved here. Some of the resources available are the eBay for buying these locomotives. One of these, the Great Northern 1257, actually became a free locomotive off of eBay, and there were some problems with it. It was advertised as being in perfect condition, and there were several broken pieces. I've already done some reconstruction on it, but this is the shell. And this one was a parts locomotive. I spent $20 on it plus $5 shipping, and it did have a lot of good parts on it, and it actually did take both locomotives to get my one working locomotive. And both were advertised as used in DC only, and I found that they were both different, even though the outward appearance was the same. But once I dug into them, there were some differences with the motor. My other resources were HO Seeker, which is a website, and that's where I got the schematic of the locomotive and tender. I had to look at several, and this is the closest one, although it isn't exactly like one of the locomotives, and I've noticed that some of the parts aren't included on here. Okay, first we'll get to taking off the shell, and one of them I have disassembled already. The other locomotive right here, the Pennsylvania. Actually, I guess it is a Reading Railroad locomotive. I've taken it apart and put it back together already a couple of times, but I kind of reassembled it here. This is how it looks. A few pieces have been taken off, but this is off of here. And these little, I took off some other little pieces too, and I've already taken off the bell, and I took off the whistle and put them on the Great Northern one, which is the one I want to use. So the first thing to do is to take off the shell screws, which is one on each side. And just unscrew them. There we go on the one. It's not very hard. There's the other one, and there's a lot of similarities between these screws. You might want to have a separate place for them, and the shell slides right off. And there you have it. Put it off to the side. This one here, this is the smoke. Right here, the headlight's already been taken off, but there was a headlight in between here that was screwed between there and there. So here's that part. The next thing you do is you can take the bottom off, and there's two screws for that too. And these may differ a little bit from the shell screws, so you can keep those in a separate place. These screws have kind of been mixed up because I've been working on two different locomotives. And those two come off, and then this has to come out too. And there was a little bit of difference between the front trucks, between these two models. You can see this one is a metal one, has one insulated wheel, there's a spring in there. This one is totally insulated. Both wheels are insulated, and so this one is not a pickup, whereas this one picks up off of one of the tracks. And then this piece looks like this. Comes off, slides off. This might come off kind of hard, but it does come off, and I've taken this apart and putting it back together several times. So and then this part just kind of falls out the front here. Put these off to the side, and here we have just one side of wheels. This is how the whole thing would look. And one thing I found here was that even though these two locomotives look almost exactly the same, there actually is a different size axle. This one actually is slightly smaller, and the gear is different. The gear is a different size. We'll just put this off to the side. And this one's really sloppy in here, and then this one doesn't even fit in this. It's too big. But there's a lot of similarities, and the brushes actually were the same, so I was able to salvage the brushes out of one. I'll put them side by side. The smoke is different in each one. The headlights were different. The headlights on this one is going there like that, and the motor obviously is the biggest, clearest difference. And this is the one I'm using. Although this motor sounded better at low RPMs, this one sounded real nice. I wished I could have used this one, but these were shot. There was a broken piece right here. It's broken. You can see that right there is broken, and the axles were the wrong size. They were too big, and they didn't fit well inside here. And then the other problem was that this one came with one of these posts was broken, and I was successful at making a new one with a nail and using JB Weld and drilling a hole, but because these were no good, because this part was no good, I wasn't able to use this. But for illustrative purposes, it's good to have both of these.